Merry meet, Annie here. Oh, it's the time of the hunter's moon, sometimes called the harvest moon. It has to do with whether it is closer to the autumnal equinox than the moon in September. 2 out of 3 years, this is the harvest moon. Every 3rd year, it's the hunter's moon. Well, officially this year, it's the hunter's moon. The moon in September was closer to Mabon than this moon is. But I don't call it the hunter's moon. A long time ago, I took upon behalf of the Greystone Path and those who studied with me and the tradition we were creating, we took on naming the moons. I think you've heard me mention this before. I encourage everyone to name Espets and Sabbats, to know exactly what they mean at a personal level, and to choose the naming. That doesn't mean some names that are traditional don't mean a lot, but know what your relationship to those names is and make yourself a new one when you need to. For me, this moon, the moon in October, is the still moon. It's a time of silence and centering and releasing the frantic flow of life that has brought us to this place. I have a reading from David Whyte to honor the energy of the moment. It's a writing he did on hiding, applicable to both the still moon and the dark moon at this time of the year. I wanted to share it with you. David Whyte just happens to be my favorite poet of all time. It's amazing how often his words are part of my rituals, but they are even more so part of my meditations and the wheel of the year. This is what he wrote about hiding. Hiding is a way of staying alive. Hiding is a way of holding ourselves until we are ready to come into the light. Even hiding the truth from ourselves can be a way to come to what we need in our own necessary time. Hiding is one of the brilliant and virtuoso practices of almost every part of the natural world. The protective quiet of an icy northern landscape, the held bud of a future summer rose, the snowbound internal pause at the hibernating bear. Hiding is underestimated. We are hidden by life in our mother's womb until we grow and ready ourselves for our first appearance in the lighted world. To appear too early in that world is to find ourselves with the immediate necessity for outside intensive care. Hiding done properly is the eternal, faithful promise for a proper future emergence, as embryos, as children, or even as emerging adults in retreat from the names that have caught us and imprisoned us, often in ways we have been too easily seen and too easily named. We live in a time of the dissected soul, the immediate disclosure, our thoughts, imaginings, and longings exposed to the light too much, too early, and too often. Our best qualities squeezed too soon into a world already awash with too easily articulated ideas that oppress our sense of self and our sense of others. What is real is almost always to begin with hidden and does not want to be understood by the part of our mind that mistakenly thinks it knows what is happening. What is precious inside us does not care to be known by the mind in ways that diminish its presence. Hiding is an act of freedom from the misunderstanding of others, especially in the enclosing world of oppressive secret government and private entities attempting to name us, to anticipate us, to leave us with no place to hide and grow in ways unmanaged by a creeping necessity for absolute naming, absolute tracking, and absolute control. Hiding is a bid for independence from others, from mistaken ideas we have about ourselves, from an oppressive and mistaken wish to keep us completely safe, completely ministered to, and therefore completely managed. Hiding is creative, necessary, and beautifully subversive of outside interference and control. Hiding leaves life to itself to become more of itself. Hiding is the radical independence necessary for our emergence into the light of a proper human future. Have you ever thought of the full moon as an aspect of hiding? It can be. When we enter the spirit of the full moon, the still moon in this instance, allow ourselves to be illuminated by that light from without, to fill ourselves internally with that light. As he refers to it, it's a place of creativity. It's a place of becoming our true self. This is the energy of the still moon. It's the still water within. Dark night, stars and moonlight. What enters and is reflected and then magnified within. And sometimes we have to withdraw from the noise to hide in order to experience that kind of illumination. Shared because this reading is something I read before I do my still moon ritual every year. Because it's an interesting paradox to consider. It's not the dark of the moon, and yet we speak of hiding. But sometimes we have to hide ourselves in order to be truly illuminated. I wish you all blessings of the moon, mirth and reverence.